Hi, I'm Lou Scott, and this is the Geppetto Room, where you don't have to be creative, you just have to be you. Because here we're going to talk about methodologies, techniques to make it easier for you to make transformative decisions. We have to make those kind of decisions, or not ordinary decisions, transformative decisions in our state for yourself and for the state in order to enrich the way we live, the way we work, the way we play in our state. Very important. Now today I'm going to talk about ideas I've had, hopefully ideas that may prompt more ideas on your part, about how to bring young people into our state. The 18 to 25s. We need these young people. We need them to come in. And I'm going to talk about a piece of research that Vermont has to do called psychographic research. Now, you heard me talk about how important to our economics young people are, but we have to bring them in because they have to bring in, they have to start families, they have to be consumers, they become a labor force, they create new ideas. It's important that we bring in new people, younger people in our state to add to our demographics, because we have a demographic problem. We're too old, and our young are leaving, and not enough young people are coming, so it's a problem. Now that problem will intensify unless we solve it, okay? It'll get to a point where the lifestyle that we live, that the life kind of we want to live in Vermont, we won't be able to. Why? Because it'll be too expensive. It'll be what we want, maybe not available at all. And if it's available, it'll be available scarce. We have an economic problem. We have to enliven our downtown areas, and young people can do that. So we're going to talk about that. Now, we have contact people to live here now. The state has been doing a lot of initiatives, a lot of things over the years, since 12 years ago, when the state did a piece of research itself that showed that we had a weakness in demographics, that we had to bring in young people. Now, they've done some isolated initiatives, and they do a lot of different things, but I don't have to criticize them. I don't have to tell them good things. The fact is that the results in that 10 or 12 years has been very mediocre, very much so. So we have to try different things. We need different things, okay? Now, the first thing we need is a psychographic piece of research. Psychographic piece of research, what it does, it helps us isolate the real characteristics. It helps us give meaning to Vermont. What is the meaning? What are we selling? What is the meaning of it? By looking into the mind of the tribe, the 18 to 25, those kind of people, what do we have to say about Vermont that's going to get into their mental state, their psychological state, based on their habit? That's what psychographic research is. Now, so the first question we have to ask when we do the psychographic research, and it has to be performed, is what are we selling? What are we selling? What is the meaning of Vermont? What do we have to say about Vermont that sells it now? I don't think Vermont knows. Now, a lot of people disagree when I say that I don't think Vermont knows. I know we're using a lot of research from other people's research, from common sense, from hearsay, but it's not what we have to do. We're not reaching these younger people. So we have to ask this question, what are we selling now? I say we don't know. Now, if you disagree with me, prove it to yourself. Ask your family, ask your friends, ask whomever, what are we selling? What do we have to say about Vermont? And what you'll hear is not a focused theme, not something that's focused and definitive. You're going to hear a hodgepodge of all kinds of stuff. I lived here all my life. It's the mountains, it's the skiing, it's the hunting. Those are important, but those are not the psychographic reasons why people will come here. We need that, but you don't put that in a promotion or a communication campaign, and I'll explain it further than that. Okay. By definition, let me read the definition to you. Psychographic research is a method of segmentation, marketing segmentation, that finds out the beliefs, the understandings of this particular tribe, this particular age group that we need. And sometimes those beliefs are unconscious, they're subconscious. Not only conscious and subconscious, but they're all characteristics. And once we know those characteristics, those emotional characteristics, it has to be emotional. And I'll give you some examples. Emotional characteristics. We're never going to retract these people. Now, by definition, that's what psychographics is. We want to find out what we need to say about Vermont, to give it meaning, to give it emotion, to give it vibe, to give it energy, to bring these people into our state. Now, all major companies carry out psychographic research all the time to protect their market share, to protect their product. They need to know what people, what they're selling, what do we have to say about their products that people will respond to and buy. In our particular case, what do we have to say about Vermont to make people come here? Now, let me give you some examples, okay? For example, Harley Davidson. Harley Davidson doesn't sell motorcycles. It sells vicariously the idea of rebellion. It sells adventure. The idea that a person can strip away his clothes during the week, his respectability, don black, become like the Hells Angels, mount his bike, and go around threatening everybody. They don't threaten everybody. They don't threaten everybody. But what they do is vicarious. That's what they sell. They sell adventure. They sell rebellion. Rebellion. And that's what Harley Davidson actually sells. Now, give you another example. Nike. Nike doesn't sell sneakers. Nike sells the promise that if you wear them, you can play like all the iconic athletes in all the different sports that are sponsored them. They pay for those sponsorships. Some of those athletes actually construct or put input into the design of the shoe. But the people who buy them, what they buy very simply is the idea that I can promise that I can play like those iconic athletes. That's the emotional part. That's the psychographic part of their product sale. Now, once we know that, and we have to do that research because we don't know it. Once we know that, we have a definitive thing, a clear theme to sell. How do we do it? Now, let me give you some ideas. Hopefully these ideas we can do. If you're in a position to influence those ideas, influence them. If these ideas may prompt new ideas on your part, let's get them out. We all have to participate in improving our demographics. Because when we improve our demographics, we enrich the way we live in this state. Now here's some things that I think we should do. The first thing that you should do is that the state has to realize, and I don't think we realize it, that this is an emergency. That this is a crisis, that the demographic problem, I know we have other things to do, but the demographic problem is the major underpinning of everything we have to do. We have to get at it, and we have to approach it like it's a crisis, like it's an emergency. Not as like it's just one of the things we have to think about, which I think we do. We don't think it. So the first thing the state has to do is say, this is an emergency. We all have to feel an urgency to get this done, to solve this problem. Now, the second thing that I think the state has to do is it has to create venues, as many venues with the state officials that we can to teach transformative thinking. Ordinary thinking, folks, is not going to solve our problems. We're not going to solve our new problems with old ideas. Only transformative thinking. And we all have to, everybody who has a stake has to think transformally. And the state, in my opinion, has to create venues, as many to teach it. Now, I've been doing it, I've been trying to do it for the last 2 years. But there's so many other people that do it so better than me, through more methodologies, better when the state has to underwrite those people and get these classes done so that the people who are writing all the rules and regulations and the methodologies, they do it in a transformative way. It's important. Now, why even more so important? We have gimmies, what I call gimmies. We have to look at our audience and we say, we have transportation, we have facilities, our towns are vibrant, our towns are full of energy, we have better schools, we have housing. Those are gimmies, those are expected. You're going to put that in a package of values, but it doesn't recognize the emotional impact. But we have to have that. And so if we do it in a transformative way, what we offer is going to be extraordinary. We're competing against other states. If we do it in a transformative way, all those gimmies, all those necessary things that are expected will be unusual. And that's what it has to be. It has to be unusual. Now, the next thing we have to do is develop a communication campaign. A campaign that installs creatively all these characteristics that this tribe needs. All the things we have to say to give meaning to Vermont has to be put into a communication campaign. And we have to fund that campaign, second thing, adequately. We have to have enough money to take advantage of all the media, okay, because there's a lot of competition out there for the attention, for the emotional attention of this customer, this 18 to 25, and he's a customer. And we have to prevail. We have to be able to update periodically the results. We have to stay in touch with it because some of the characteristics of our audience will change. And we have to be aware of that change. We have to keep our program going, and that's important too. We have to have patience. We have to let it run. Let the communication in all its forms run, because if communication works at all, it works because of repetition. The more you say it, the more it's believed. And we have to say the right thing. Now, once we have that theme in that communication campaign, it will prompt all our decision making. Let me give you an example. 3M at one point prided itself on its innovation, on its ability to create innovative products. So when they would develop a product or any kind of service, they'd ask themselves one question. What the question would be, is it innovative? If the answer was no, then they never did it, never proceeded. So all our decisions, once we have this theme, that we these key characteristics, all our decisions will be based on what we're doing, what we're creating. Will it be attractive to the audience we want to attract? That's very important. Every decision we make, will it be attractive to that audience? Once we do that, we get a focus, we get lots of ideas, we become innovative. And that's what we have to do. Now, to do that, when we have the psychographic answers, we have to get an agency that can do it. Now, in the past that I've seen, we've had many people judging the agencies. We had staffs of 15, 16 people judging presentations by agencies. You can't do it that way. Can't do it that way. The way I recommend you do it, you create a team of 4 or 5 people, 5 people, make it an odd number, or 3 people. But those people are experienced with agencies. They work with agencies in the metropolitan areas, in New York, in San Francisco, Boston, Chicago, where the big agencies are. They have agency experience. So when agencies come to present to us, and we're going to give them the work, they know what they have to know to choose the right one. Now, I would suggest we see 3 or 4 agencies, that's all. After a while, if you see more than that, you get confused. They're showing all this pretty pictures and pretty words. It's not the way to do it. You get confused and you're going to choose the wrong agency, which we have in the past. So, you have a small team, you have a small number of agencies, and you give them input, which you learned from your psychographic research. You got this input. Now give it to them and let them present prospective programs, campaigns. So then you pick the best one. Otherwise, they're presenting things that they did for other people. It means nothing to us. We give them the input. They all have the same input. What is more creative? And that's the agency we choose. And the choice of agency is very important, based on when we find out what's the meaning of Vermont. What do we have to sell? Now, concluding, I have something interesting. In the mid-1800s, Vermont was trying to attract tourists, mid-1800s, trying to attract tourists. And they had this theme. This was their communication theme. I'm smiling because when you're going to smile when you hear it too. Communication theme. Now, whether they got it psychographically, I don't think so. Where it came from, I don't know. But their theme, and this is the word for word, was the creator, God, created Vermont as a playground for the world. I mean, that's one hell of a statement. God created. I mean, what better endorsement could you get? But that was their theme. They had a focus. God created Vermont to be a playground of the world. Talk about hyperbole. Now, it must have worked because in the mid-1800s, our population was growing. We were prosperous. We didn't have the problems we have now. Now, more relevant, in the 1960s, Vermont's theme for the hippies was the beckoning country. Now, here you had a generation. You had a generation that was changing all the hypocrisies of the past. They were changing how you wear your hair, how you dress, the sexual norms. Everything was changing, and we had to attract them. The beckoning country, the theme, the beckoning country, what it said to the hippies was simply this: come here. We will accept your change. We understand your change. You have freedom to practice what you want to practice in our state. And it worked. 1960s, we had people coming in. So we need that kind of theme. Those possess the characteristics that today's generation we want, will understand and come here, the emotional thing. That's very important to us. Let me end with a couple of things that we should be doing. We say to ourselves, Rutland, the state, that we're a welcoming country, that we're not biased, we're not racist, we welcome everybody. Well, where is that welcome? I don't see it. Or we don't see any signage of welcome. We don't see any statuary of welcome. Obviously, the state is doing some things, some towns are, but it's not visible. We're not walking the talk. We're talking about that we're welcoming. If we do our welcoming in an extraordinary way, not only will we be saying what we have to say, but we'll be attractive to people who might even not think about us. If we do welcoming, and people want to be welcome, and they truly believe that we're a welcoming state, they will come. So we have to do more visual things. Talking about that, how about this situation with the Ukraine? The Eiffel Tower is displaying the colors. The Empire State Building is displaying the colors. There is marching in the street displaying the gold and blue, showing support for people that are being killed every day, showing support. That's what we should be doing. It's a welcoming thing. Where is our support? You see any signage? Last week, there was the kids from Castleton came out and waved some flags, but I don't see any flags. I don't see any banners. I don't see it says anything welcome. I don't see any support. How can we say that we're a welcoming country and we're not supporting the refugees, which supposedly, most likely, we're going to get? I don't see any support for the Afghans we're going to get. Where's the welcome signs? Where are the posters? Where are the things that we could be doing to demonstrate, visually demonstrate, graphically, that we're a welcoming state? I don't see it. Do you see it? In any towns, no posters, no slogans, no nothing. Let's get to that. That's part of our package of values. That's part of something we have to address. To summarize, we need this piece of psychographic research. We need the venues to teach transformative thinking because, again, you can't solve new problems with old ideas, and we continually try to do that because old ideas are comfortable. Well, comfortable is not the word. We're in a crisis. We have to solve our demographic problem. And we have to say to the world, that we're a welcoming state because we have to welcome people. We need people from here, from Europe, wherever. We're a welcoming state and we have to show it. Now with that, this is the Geppetto Room, where you don't have to be creative to be creative. You just have to be you. I'm Lou Scott. Until next time, thank you very much.